All right, everyone, welcome aboard. Today we have probably the most important boat review I've ever done, and that is because it is on my boat, a Crystaliner 29.5, an old Lifeguard boat. But I promise you, I will be unbiased. I pride myself on integrity and honesty, and I will not say anything about how this is the best boat that was ever built or how whoever painted it this color is really, really smart and has great taste. Instead, we'll have an honest review. We are currently, as you can see, on a trailer. Huge trailer, 3-axle trailer, and we are going to go put it in the water. But before we put it in the water, let's do a walk around of the boat so you guys can see what the hull looks like out of the water. So the first thing you notice when you come up to the Crystaliner, other than its Stars and Stripes blue, which is the best color anyone's ever painted a boat, is the flare that it has all the way down this chine here. And the fact that this one in particular, the water line, it's about here, but then we have all this flare up through here, which helps it cut through the water really nicely. As we move to the stern of the vessel, the one thing you really want to take a look at, which is unique to Crystaliners, is this trim tab back here. This trim tab is a permanent trim tab that they actually added to the boat after it was molded. The reason for doing that, it helps it get on a plane better. As you can see, it flows exactly with the hull of the boat, but you can also see that it was bolted on. So it's aftermarket, well, not aftermarket, I shouldn't say. It's OEM, but they did that instead of actually re-glassing the molds. They just instead added these. All the Crystaliners have them. Some people do them a little differently. I've seen some of them where they've been added up to the water line here to work as like a swim step. This will be dry actually when you're underway, not at idle, but when you're moving quickly. The water shoots off here and doesn't actually get wet here. You're able to stand on it, and lifeguards love it. This boat's mainly used as a lifeguard boat. Lifeguards love it because they can stand on here and they can drop off the back at speed, and it gives them something to stand on as a back platform to the boat without having a swim step. The reason why they don't want to have a swim step is because this boat has been glassed in here, but most commercial Crystaliners that were made for lifeguards or fire, this is all actually cut out. So they have a gap here. And so it either has a door here or it had this big gap here. Since it's cut out right there, they want to dive in and out of the water. They don't want a swim step here, but they do have this small platform where the water line sits right about here. So it's partially submerged, but not all the way fully submerged. And then lastly, something else to show you here, which is a little different than other Crystaliners, is we have a big D-ring because our boat is trailerable. So this has been reconstructed to be super thick and strong fiberglass in here. And with the help of that, we're able to pull it out with the trailer. As you can see, it's not all the way up to the trailer guides because we actually keep it here, so we don't drive it anywhere with the trailer. We just put it on, don't want to scratch the paint, and then we just park it. Something else that's unique about these Crystaliners that were built for government use is their fiberglass hull is much thicker than the private issued ones. This fiberglass hull is like 1/2 inch thick, and it can pretty much withstand everything. It's what makes this boat in particular very unique because it was built to be a commercial vessel and then was auctioned off by Long Beach Fire later on. And now that we showed you guys the outside of the boat, let's go put it in the water, jump on in, and we'll show you guys what the inside of an old restored lifeguard boat looks like. All right, so we've made it onto the water, and we picked a special location today, the Coast Guard dock. The reason it's called the Coast Guard dock is because there's a Coast Guard boat here over there. But the real reason why we're on this dock is because if you look over there, all those yellow boats, we are next to the rest of the Crystaliner fleet down here. And those Crystaliners are all lifeguard boats. Little backstory on Crystaliner. Crystaliners were built in Costa Mesa, and their main design was for cities. So they were mainly made for cities, lifeguards, sheriff, fire departments, that sort of thing. And then over the course of the last 45 years, 50 years, they gained a reputation for being those government boats. And they made some private boats too. They're private Crystaliners. The government ones are kind of a little more sought after because they built them heavier duty for the government. And every now and then the government will auction one off. So this one used to be Long Beach Fire, and they auctioned it off sometime in the 2000s, where it jumped from owner to a bit and finally ended up with me. It used to not look like this. It used to look a lot worse, but spent a little bit of money, fixed it up, and now what you're about to see is this Crystaliner. Another thing to know about Crystaliners is that no one was made the same as the others. Cities were able to customize and build them however they would like for their application. Each one is a little bit different. I'm sure maybe a couple of them are pretty similar if they ordered them at the same time, but they're all a little bit different. For example, this one that we're on, if you look at the stern here, has a big cutout through the stern. This was used because they used to pull Lido 14s up onto the back deck of the boat in Long Beach and use it to help kids who are capsized or stuck get back to the dock and get better. The person before me went ahead and fiberglassed that in, so now there's a bit of a transom there. Ours, we put in bench seats on each side, port and starboard, that match the same height as the deck here. And another thing you'll notice about this boat is that this deck was raised. So this was the original height of the deck. It's up about 4 inches. And the reason that is because the guy who had it before us went ahead and put diesel engines in, Cummins diesels, instead of the gas-powered engines that they originally had in them. We'll go through that shortly. That is why this looks higher, which also means that you stand taller up at the helm. Had to get a bigger wheel for that, and sometimes you take over a little more water than you think you would, because you would typically be sitting a little lower. And lastly, while we're in the stern cockpit area still, there is a stereo on this boat of 4 8-inch JL audio speakers, as well as rail lights, LEDs that flash white, red, and blue. There are 4 of those JL audio speakers, 2 up here and 2 underneath the seats back here. And then there are also compartments along each side of the seats for storage. And then back here, we have a rod holder, which we use as a flagpole, and then rod holders along the sides, 4 on each side, port and starboard. Moving forward up to the helm, you'll see a pretty simple helm. You have your gear controls on the port side and your throttle controls on the starboard side. 2 Mercury computers right here, vessel view Mercury computers. These are to operate the Cummins diesel engines down below. Build switches, charger for your iPhone, nav light switches, deck light switch here as well, and a button for the horn. And then you have your keys up top here, along with the ignitions, start and stop. There's a compass up here on the helm, and then the one thing that is the artist piece we have of this entire boat is this piece of teak that wraps all the way around the helm up here. We call it the teak brow. This teak brow is on other Lifeguard boats as well. Some of them are fiberglass though and not teak, and we had this one custom made to fit back into its original spot to give it that nice old classic boat look, and it looks like it's about due for varnish. As we come over here on the port side, there is nothing over here. Some Crystaliners, this is all hollowed out, but ours is not. And then down here below, we have a little bit of storage as well. Entrance to the boat is really simple. You just flip up these 2 hatches, which are held on springs right there, and then you just open the door right here, and then you're down inside the interior. Sitting on the stairs, you can get a view of the entire cabin down here. The cabin is pretty spacious for what it is. This V-berth is really large. It's kind of like a huge king bed. You can lay a couple people across it. And then back here on this side is a couch that goes all the way down the side, which is also about 6.5 feet long. The floor is done in the faux teak decking. And then along with everything else down here in the interior, I just have this little teak table, which I put out and set on the stern so that people can eat and have lunch or drinks or whatever they'd like. And then this step down here as well. On this side, we have all of our cabinetry. This cabinetry is the only thing that I haven't really touched. Everything else you see on this boat, the cushions, the flooring, the paint on the outside, the deck seats in the back, have all been redone since it was purchased by me and my partner Christian. We installed the toilet, the head, not a toilet, we're on a boat, the head, the sink, and then this cabinet was originally here. It needs a little bit of work, but for the most part, it all works. It has drawers, 2 there, storage up there, cleaning supplies and first aid kit underneath the sink there. Moving forward, inside here where the step is, this used to be 2 little twin beds that would meet in the middle. One of the owners before us made it into one giant V-berth, which I think was really clever. And then up there towards the front, there's a hatch that you can open to get more sunlight. And then you have your anchor locker all the way up there forward. Back here, We have a couch. Underneath this couch, there is compartments for storage, as well as a compartment up there for more storage. On the starboard side, we have our control panel. The control panel has everything a normal boat would have: macerator pump, stereo, water pressure pump, running lights, electronics, a standard horizon VHF, and a fusion head unit that goes to power an amplifier that then is sent to all those speakers that we showed you earlier. And then on the side, just the room for the head and a life ring so you don't sink when you're going to the bathroom. And then underneath me here, there's a compartment that is where our water and waste tank is. If we head out up top, you'll notice the bimini that goes over the whole boat. And then if we head onto the bow, you can see our anchor system. Now, our anchor system, we didn't really go with a windlass because we really liked how this bow looks without a bowsprit on it. And we also would have had to cut into this fiberglass to put a bowsprit here to get a windlass. So instead we went classic, and we're just going with the throw the anchor off the side, tie it through one of the fair leads, and tie it up to that Samson post on the bow. And then this is where that hatch is that we could see from underneath. Turn around, you get a nice view of the teak brow, and you can see the entire boat from up here. VHF mounted to the side, right next to the helm on the starboard. That pretty much covers the entire exterior of the Crystaliner. So let's get one of these deck plates up and go inside and check out the engines. This is how you get access into the engine compartment. You just pick up the plate and you slide it over, or you can put them back here. While we're back here, I'll also point out there's hatches back here where there's a stern bilge pump and also access to your steering rudder system, which is hydraulic on this boat, which is nice. And then access on these sides under the seats here to your prop shaft in the rear of your transmission, as well as more storage. As you can see, we have life jackets there. So then as you jump in, you got to be careful because it's a bit of a drop, but it's a pretty common style for old boats to get into. You just lift up the hatches and then you have your engines down here. Now, as you can see, there's zero room whatsoever around our engines because they're so much bigger than what the boat was designed for, which is why this whole thing was raised 4 inches. But you can see our gear rack stuff up here. But with that being said, I'll show you guys a video of why we call it the Christian test. So for all you guys that have been following my other videos, today you're going to learn why it's called the Christian test. And you can see that video right here, right now. That is why we throw ourselves behind engines, because Christian has thrown himself behind these engines a number of times. So just 2 big Cummins 5.7 QSBs. They put out 350 horsepower each. They will make this boat go about 35 knots, which is really fast. It's a lot of fun. I'm sure you guys saw the videos and the intros, but this thing will fly. And the other thing that's great about it is even though it's fast, it's also really fuel efficient. We can go like 60 miles on about 38 gallons of fuel. I could probably do that math to make it sound like it makes more sense. It's essentially 10 gallons an hour at 25 knots. So it gets really good mileage, which is awesome. That's why we love it. Fuel's so expensive. That's all right on this one, I guess, because you're not burning as much as you would be. So with that being said, let's go inside the boat and get these stars for this vessel. So it gets different reviews than other things might say you get. All right, sorry about that. We were at another location and there was an old guy yelling at some kids for fishing, and you just cannot do a star rating and focus while that's going on. We're in a new spot. It's quiet now, besides the lapping on the side of the boat. We're gonna go through the star reviews. I told you guys at the beginning of this video that I would not be biased. Integrity is very important to me. Honest reviews are what make this channel. So with that said, 50 out of 50 stars. It's perfect. Everything, categories, all 5 stars across all categories. There's not another boat in the whole world I'd rather own. Thank you for sailing with us, and have a good day. All right. It's the easiest review yet. Okay, no, in all honesty, this boat is incredible, but as you can see, it's lacking some amenities, so let's go through those stars now. We'll make it real quick. I already have this boat ranked on the captainsreview.com, so be sure to go check that out as long as with all the other boats, see how they've planned out. And also go check out the captainsreview.com for great merchandise. We have shirts on this boat, classic lines like You Scratch My Anchor, the Fender Bender t-shirt, as well as Gone Fishing. So go check those out. That's the captainsreview.com. All proceeds of that help support this channel and keep me making videos for you guys. And now let's jump into the stars for this boat. Starting with practicality, this boat gets 3 stars for practicality. The reason for that being is it's pretty practical. It's a great size, comes with a trailer. But in terms of like living or staying on a boat, there's no shower, there's no stove. You can get a grill for it, which I'll probably do eventually. And then it doesn't really have like that much fresh water or anything like that. So practicality gets a 3. For styling it gets a 5. It is a classic, like old school, clean lines. And if you're in Southern California, you'll recognize these things because every single department from like San Diego to LA is running boats like these as their lifeguard boats. So the styling is just never gets old. Handling gets 4 stars. This boat cuts through the water amazingly well. It's designed to be in the surf, to go over huge waves that are crashing on the beach. Performance also gets 4 stars. This one has the diesel engines, goes really fast, gets good mileage. Doesn't really get 5 stars though, because if it was to get 5 stars, it would have to go like way faster, have way more power. It's good, 350 horsepower each, 710 horsepower I believe it is, ton of torque, great for performance. For comfort, the boat gets a 3. It's pretty comfortable. The seats and the bench and everything, there's tons of room to lay out, which is great for a boat this size because it's all about laying out. But the restroom doesn't really have a door. As you noticed, you have to like shut everyone in to come use the restroom, things like that. So it's a smaller boat, rocks a little more, so comfort gets a 3. Technology on this boat gets a 2. There is a depth sounder, or a transducer, as some of you might call it, in the hull, but it is not connected to anything because I don't have a GPS screen or a radar or anything like that. Sound system's great, but I don't really consider that as like a technological aspect of a boat. So for that reason, technology gets 2 stars. If it didn't have Mercruiser vessel view control screens for the engines, probably get 1 star. For value gets 4 stars on this boat. I mean, I got it really cheap and rebuilt the whole thing and it cost me a bunch of money, but these boats you can pick up under $100,000. They're kind of like right on the cusp of $100,000. Some of the really nice private fishing boat ones like will go for like 110, 115, and then the other ones will go for like north of 70. So that's great because these ones are sort of like classic cars, pretty looking, handle incredibly. They're really special boats. For party boat also gets 4 stars. Just has a lot of room to lay out. It's not very big, like if you're gonna have a ton of people on it, like you can hold a ton of people on it because it's built really well. But it's not like a big pontoon boat, but it does have like all the bench seating back there. It's got a bunch of room on the bow to lay out on. So, and the speaker system is crazy. So party boat, 4 stars. For repairability, this boat gets 5 stars for repairability. It may be my only boat. No, the Sea Ray also got 5 stars for repairability. The reason being is everything on this boat you can find at your local store. I mean, the Cummins are really easy to repair. There's Cummins manufacturing all over the place. You can get all sorts of stuff you need for the Cummins. Everything else is just generic boat parts. It's great. So repairability, 5 stars. And fun factor. Fun factor is 4 stars for this boat. It's a ton of fun. People look at you all day long. The older crowd loves it because they recognize them from just being in the beach their whole life. Handles great, speed. People love to go swimming off of it. It's just truly an incredible boat, and that's why I own it and why I love it. And I would recommend if anyone has the opportunity to find one, they should grab one. They're not super big, they're 30 feet, but you get a lot for 30 feet. And it's just an incredible experience to have. So I feel very lucky to own it. And Christian, my boat partner, has done an amazing job in just us taking care of it. The total is actually 38 stars. 38 stars for this Crystaliner 29. It's an incredible boat. You're gonna see a lot more of this boat in the future. I'm gonna be taking it to Catalina, Emerald Bay, destinations around Southern California. So stay tuned for that content, like and subscribe. And thank you for sailing with us.